everyone, welcome. It's Monday, so it's leaders and legacy in style, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Every Monday, we come to you with a featured guest speaker, and today is no exception. I am Joy Ruffin, and the work that I do is as a leadership and signature style specialist, guiding women to own their power so that it reflects the radiance that's within them from the core. But today, we're going to be talking about business. And at the end, I'm going to be asking a few questions to my featured guest speaker. So all I want you to do is just sit back and be comfortable and relax because there's a lot that we want to share with you about business. So before I bring him up, I want you just to take in a little bit about his background. Love his name because the last name ends with what I do. It's Mark Style. And Mark is a business therapist and founding principal of On the Mark Advisors. Now, could I go on and on and on and share with you a lot about his background? I could, but I know you want to hear from him more about what he does, how, and so on, and how it's going to impact you. So just sit back and help me welcome our featured guest speaker. Mark, as they say on the telly, come on up. Welcome.
Hello, Joy.
It's good to have you here, Mark. You know that I love the work you're doing. We met in one of the wonderful networking groups that we both belong to. And now I want you to share with us a little bit. I love your title, a business therapist. Before we get going, share with us a little bit about how you came to that name.
Well, it's a privilege to be here. Thanks for having me, Joy, as the Minister of Enlightenment and someone who always sparks joy with their audience. I came to that name after a successful 30-year career in the corporate and startup worlds, leading teams and slaying dragons. Came to a point where it was my entire identity was wrapped up in my work world. So the real epiphany was that there was more emphasis on corporate politics and turf battles and being inauthentic consistently. So I thought I need to do something else. And I thought I'd become a business coach. But after talking to friends and colleagues who are business coaches, I realized I could offer a lot more beyond the coaching. And so hence was born business therapy.
Mark, I love that because you're so right. There's so many people who are labeled as coaches, and that name is overused. And yet, when you say a therapist, because most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, at some point in time need a therapist, someone who can really help us to guide and heal all of the things that we're dealing with that aren't working. So, and then I love your slaying the dragons after 30 years. I love dragons, by the way, all of that spiritual stuff.
Well, there are some good dragons too.
What was that?
There are good dragons too. They don't all need to be slayed.
Exactly. Oh, good point. Good point. Well, there's a lot, and that's, we talk about the spiritual bird, the phoenix. There really is no phoenix bird, but we all get the nuances of what that means. How did you said after 30 years, you decided, what was that awakening point for you that gave you the impetus to start your own and build your own business after doing and slaying the dragons and all that other stuff? What was that one, or was it more seed that said, I can do more and I can help and support people more in what they're doing? Was there something specific, or how did that play out?
Right. So in addition to just the corporate world changing, where it was less a meritocracy, less, great ideas count for something, but more guarding your butt and, politicking throughout at the leadership level.
Yes.
There was that part, but then there was also the part that I realized that I didn't understand at the time. But throughout my career, I've always been a go-to mentor for my colleagues, helping them achieve stretch goals, build effective teams, and even get promotions. And frequently I get the feedback after I would help them though, oh my gosh, Mark, you saw around the corner, you knew exactly what was going to happen. You let me, you allowed me to achieve my goal. I wouldn't have done it without you. You ought to do this as a second gig. And my response was always, are you kidding me? Like, I got my hands full with my first gig. Thank you, but no thank you. Until that epiphany happened, I said, you know what? I've been getting a lot of feedback that I'm really good at this. And that was the key for me. I wanted to do something I was really good at. that I love doing. I really loved helping people and seeing light bulbs go on their head and achieving their goals.
Yeah.
And also something that was adding value, that they would come back and say, "This, you ought to be paid for this. This is really amazing what you're doing." So those three things was what got me going and was the impetus to start my business therapy practice.
I love that explanation, because when you say that was one of the many seeds, my next question to you and what I wanted us to discuss, and you've already answered it, we're going to expound a wee bit more on it. You were the go-to person and you supported people in startups, but the seed for you was seeing how they lit up after the fact. And I have to share with you, when I first met you, you have a dog there? I hear something barking. But anyway, the seed for me was when you gave me a suggestion that I haven't implemented yet, but it's still in the back of my noodle, and I will at some point in time soon, because it was a good seed. It was something I hadn't even thought of. So when you're dealing with all of these people who are starting up their businesses and you're wanting to help them to succeed, what are some of the things that you share with them, the insights that you give and share that hadn't even thought about, that is so far on the back burner that they, what are the little things that most of us who are starting working online, entrepreneurial, that we just don't do, we don't see? We're so busy deep in the forest.
That's exactly right. That's really my wheelhouse, is being able to help these business owners see the forest through the trees, understand what their strengths are, what their strengths, talents, interests, passions, superpowers are, and enable them to leverage those so that they are doing things that they are great at doing, that they like doing, and that are adding value. That's the big thing, that the epiphany that many of these business owners have. They're spending time plugging holes, they're chief cook and bottle washer, they're just doing everything to keep the business going, not realizing that the stress is building up because they're not doing what they love doing and what they're great at doing. They're just doing what they think they have to do. And I help them see that they don't have to be in that role all the time. They can be doing things that they love, that they're great at, and that are adding value. And when you're in that state of flow, as I call it, the likelihood of success and achieving your goals is exponentially greater than if you are just going through the motions every day.
Mike, the information you're sharing with us is powerful and potent, but something's not right with your mic. The sound was, and forgive the word, atrocious when it comes through on your end when you were solo. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to correct it. I'm hoping it won't be as obvious in the actual recording, because all the information you shared with us was spot on. My sound is clear now, but when you come on and you're solo, your sound, I don't know what it is. Maybe the mic, or is your mic going through the computer or through your, how is it, how does it play out? Do you have a camera?
Yeah, I'm going to change the mic right.
Yeah, I think you need to, because something's not right. I don't think it's just on my end. But I love your response while you're doing that, because you mentioned one of my favorite words. I'm all about flow. I think we all are at this time. And you were kind enough to say in the beginning, I do label myself, in conjunction with the leadership and signature style specialist, I label myself the minister of enlightenment, awareness, and awakenings. And one of the reasons that I'm called to connect with you is for the work that you're doing, because it is like an awakening for many people who want to have a more successful business. So you mentioned that state of flow. What are some of the things that you have found thus far, and the people that you work with, that you really are able to support them? And the seed that you gave me about bringing on guests was very, very powerful. And that's something I'll put on the back burner. You and I will discuss it another time. But what are some of the other things in working with people that you have found that they just overlook, they don't see, and you put it right there in front of them and they say, oh, that type of thing?
Well, I mean, how much time do we have? Let me go through a few. Can you hear me okay now?
It's a little bit better. It's a little bit better, yes.
Okay. So one good example is that a lot of people think revenue is king, and I just need to get revenue at any cost. And I want to just, grow and grow and grow and get a lot of sales dollars. When in fact, that may not be the best thing to do in every case, where margins and cash flow that they might be overlooking that. And so I make sure that they are looking at their entire portfolio of revenue and where they might emphasize putting more effort toward that is yielding higher cash flow, higher margins, higher profitability versus just the pure revenue, as one example.
That's a good example, because I think this is what most of us miss. And I'll somewhat just speak for myself. You're so deep in the forest with the overall picture that you forget a lot of the little parts that make up the entire picture, and you might overlook it. There's so many ways to verbalize that, and you just did. But you also started with revenue is king. I think no matter how you dice, slice, and splice that up, many people still think that way. And it is, but not to the extent that we're putting so much of our emphasis on that and that only. So I know somewhat what you'll come back to us with, because we all might know it, but we need to hear it. How can we segue keeping revenue as king at the forefront, but knowing there are so many other nuances involved with the business? How do we get there?
Well, there's processes and discipline and structure. All of those things play a role in ensuring that the people in your organization are doing what they're good at, they're in the right seats, doing the right things, and are playing to their strengths as well as the owners playing to their strengths. One of the things that related to the revenue issue is, we've got a potential big client, all hands on deck. Everybody, we're going to focus. This is going to be our big whale we're going to get. And then either they don't get the whale and everyone has neglected their other duties and other clients, perhaps, or they get it and then they're so reliant on that client, they don't, when that client goes away, if they go away, they're decimated, their entire organization. So there's a scaling intelligently method that I employ with many of my clients who are in that kind of situation.
I like the part about the whale, because especially, and I only say this because it was so prevalent for all of us really in different ways after the pandemic. And I'm sure you realize that so many people came on to work online because they lost their business. They couldn't go to business, blah, 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 numerous reasons, and were seeking that big whatever. And that comes, but it's a time factor. And the style that you do that in is what you deliver to them. And I like that. Before we go to a quick little reset here, I want you to be thinking about, and then we'll come back and discuss it. What are the 5 types of clients predominantly that you work with? You don't answer that now, because I'm going to take a quick little reset, but we want to know predominantly, and I know it's broad base or broad range, but give us the 5 types predominantly that you work with. And if you will hold that in mind, I'm going to take a quick little reset and I'll be right back with you. In the meantime, all of you out there tuning in now, and those of you who will come for the recap, bear in mind, there is a group here that we want your company. It's called Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies. Now, Mark has a gent. Don't we all some way have a significant other, a partner? He or she needs to be a part of this group, because we want your vision, your mission, and your purpose as part of that group, because we're a community. We're about change, community, collaboration. And that's where you belong here with us. And in conjunction with that, I started a new YouTube channel. Well, it's not you. We're combining a lot of the other with it. But it's Joy Ruffin Fashioning, Femininity, Style, and Truth. And that's one of the reasons I've labeled myself the Minister of Enlightenment, because we as women, it's time. And many of us who might feel, as I did, that you really it's time to really own your power. Own your radiance, as one of my friends has given me this tagline, because we want you to connect, go and subscribe to this channel. Leave me your comments. Leave me your suggestions, your likes, and what you don't like. But either way, we want you as part of this community. Now, take a screenshot and take a snapshot of Mark's graphic. It's about business coaching, strategic outlines, stress management, all of this stuff that you need to be on top of to run a business that flows, where revenue is king, but all the elements that you put into it. So put your screenshot, your camera, take this. Here is his website. Make sure you get a screenshot or a snapshot, even though we'll be playing this everywhere, so that you can utilize this and make sure that you meet and greet with him. That said, back to you, Mark. This is what I want to know, and I'm sure everybody else wants to know too. Who are the 5 types of people or businesses that you work with? I know you're broad-based, most of us are, but then we all have 3 to 5 that we really zero in on. So share with us those types of personas and personalities and businesses.
You got it. Well, actually, I have 5 types of people and then 5 types of business situations.
Yes,
so if I have time, I'll do both.
Good.
The 5 types of people that I encounter most, and I only focus on small businesses because my approach is highly customized and personalized to them.
Yes.
And so that's why I only focus on small businesses. You've got the solopreneur, the person that loves being their own boss and doesn't want anybody reporting to them, and they want to be able to be responsible for everything that happens themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the spousal team, husband and wife, spousal team, that are working together, and they have some other dynamics going on because they're taking their work home with them as well. You've got the family business, which is like, maybe there's a patriarch or matriarch, and they have other generations, and they're looking to maybe transition out to them at some point. Mm-hmm. There's the general partnerships of just people who maybe were friends and they partnered together, or they knew each other in business and they partnered, and now they are in business together. Sometimes equal partnerships, sometimes non-equal partnerships. Those are the 5 people that generally in my realm, the small business, that I encounter. In terms of the businesses themselves, there's the ones that need lead gen. They need to get sales. They don't, that's where there's a lot of businesses that need effective lead generation to get to sell and to grow their business. There's the ones that are selling too much. They can't handle it. They're not scaled for all of the interest in their business. They need to harness that growth. There's the folks that are looking to do a strategic pivot. What's working now is no longer working. When the pandemic hit, many businesses did a strategic pivot. Uh-huh. There's the businesses that want to decide whether to scale or not to scale. What are the implications of that? And finally, I'll say the business model revamp. The business model itself is not serving the purpose of what they were trying to do. And so we look at the business model and align a business model better to that person or person's strengths and superpowers.
Wow.
In fact, many clients call me the business chiropractor because of that realignment I'm doing.
I love that. I do. The therapist, the chiropractor, what next? The heart doctor, I suppose. But you know what? I love the way you broke that down for us, Mark, because I don't think most of us think that way. I really had never thought of the 5 different major categories that you could put a business into. Now, I received 4 of them. I missed the 5th one. I got the solo, I got the spousal team, the family, the general partnership. What was the 5th one?
Maybe I didn't mention it. It's the ex-corporate executive that that thinks they know enough to go and be an entrepreneur because they were slaying dragons like I was, and they usually have a little bit or a lot to learn to do that effectively.
Ooh, I bet that's a big category because we all do. A lot of people who, like you and me to a different extent, we're in business, and then you get into an entrepreneurial setting, it's a whole different ballgame. But I like that. The solo, the spousal team, the family, the general partnership, and the corporate person. That's really major. And then you break that down to the types. And you gave a pivotal word for me and for all of us. You said you help and support them to learn to harness whatever that gift, that skill, or that talent might be. Because oftentimes we can be all over the board. I know that for myself, and I can see it with others that I dialogue with from time to time. What is your master plan when you go in initially, contingent upon the business? Do you have them outlined to you verbally or a plan? How do you go about this somewhat? Give us like some guidelines.
I ask a lot of questions in the beginning. I do. I have a battery of assessments. I don't always use, I use the ones that I think are appropriate for each situation. Mm-hmm. That's why, I'm not cookie cutter at all, like some other traditional business coaches. I
Yeah.
go in with a complete open mind. I want to know what their goals are, what they've been trying to do to reach the goals that have been moderately successful, not successful at all. I want to know everything about how they're running their business, what things in their business that they love doing, what are some of their crowning achievements, what are some of their big failures, and go back and see what caused those in that person or persons. Understanding who they are, again, their risk tolerance, their management style, their personality, all of these things put together so that I have a picture of who this person is and how best to help them in ways that they would be most resonant to. And that's what I do. I ask a lot of questions. The questions themselves are probing that, have you ever tried this before? And a lot of times I never thought about my business like that before, that I could even do that kind of thing. And that spurs a lot of thought and a lot of deep conversation about what can be done with the business, what they're willing to do, what that risk level is to get to that success, et cetera, et cetera.
Et cetera is right. And you started off with the right, as far as I'm concerned, with my limited knowing, but knowing, there's a deep knowing. That open-mindedness is everything. And that's one of the reasons I've labeled myself the minister of enlightenment. Because if you're open-minded and you're asking questions in love because you want to know so you can support, it's a whole different ball game. And asking a lot of questions and having the answers and how they're answered back to you gives you a lot of ammunition to work with, right? It gives you a lot of tools to work with. I like that. But you mentioned something else, and I'm sure this is a scary factor for all of us. Risk tolerance. Because you go back with the risk tolerance back to revenue is king. So how do we tap dance with the two of those together? Woo-hoo, that's a good one. For you, contingent upon the individual, the persona, the personality of the person.
Right. Well, the risk tolerance is more like, what am I willing to risk to get to that extra revenue level, to try to tie those two in together, right?
Yes.
What am I going to invest in financially, effort-wise, identity-wise, reputational-wise? What am I investing in to get to this return? And then, of course, how am I measuring it? And what are the metrics? What are the time frames to get there? That's what I want to understand from my clients is, what are they willing to risk to reach their goals? Sometimes they don't have to risk much, but there's different levels of different types of risks that, some people, I don't want financial risks. Other people, I don't want reputational risks. There's a large battery of different types of risks that, and there's also risks of missing opportunities, right? So there's positive, there's negative and positive also. So I hope that answered the question, but it
did. And not only are you answering the question for me, Mark, you're giving me a lot of nuggets and tools for my own information, because I align things in different ways. You said risk. It involves a lot of different things, but one might be the investment. A lot of people aren't willing to take that risk because the investment they have to make in themselves. And this is one of the things I have found thus far that people are hesitant and hold back on, because it's contingent upon a lot of different variables. But that I like, and I get that. And how you work around and tap dance around that, I'd like to know. But before we go any further, give us an example of someone that you've worked with recently, maybe, without names. We don't want names of businesses or individuals, that you were able to get in and get to the nuts and bolts of what they needed to do to be profitable and get that king of revenue there for them.
So a recent example, husband and wife team, they owned a franchise in a home service industry. They came to me a little over 2 years ago and said, Mark, we have been in this business 10 years. Our kids are starting to grow up. We want to exit. We want you to help us get this to attract a buyer and exit the business. And so that's exactly what I did with them and for them. Over 2 years, we groomed the business. We scaled it to the level it needed to be. We made sure that it was running effectively and efficiently. And lo and behold, 2 years later, They attracted a buyer. I helped them negotiate the sale of their business. And they successfully exited a couple of months ago. And I just made arrangements to go up. They're far from me. So I'm going up to do a celebratory dinner to celebrate that. A little bit late, but better late than never, because they are now entered into a new part of their lives where they can be with their kids. You know, they made enough money in their business that they don't need to have another business, and they are wonderfully happy. And I help them. I'm very proud of that one.
Well, you should be, because I think that's a great example. And the example that, I mean, I'm like, whoa, this is so, a home service business, but for 10 years, they wanted to know how to exit the business and yet to grow the business, to leave it to whatever, and so they could get a potential buyer. And that was very, very broad-based and monumental what you did for them. That's really phenomenal. I think that's a great example. And to grow, you helped them grow the business. And then that leads me to the last question that I have for you. I know it ties into what you just gave us. What legacy are you wanting to leave for the people and the businesses that you're working with? Woohoo! I think you just answered that.
Well, professionally, I would like nothing more than the success and happiness of my clients. Just like when I was in the corporate world and seeing these folks that I gave advice to, achieve their goals. So, that's really, I love watching other people and having a role in their success and fulfillment. And I'd say I'd love to be thought of as a very high integrity advisor, ethical, an out of the box thinker that can help with innovative business models, thoughts, and approaches to different businesses. I believe that my own strengths have complemented me, and I've played to them myself. I did business therapy myself to get to this point, so I'm doing what I'm good at, and I'd say lastly, I'd like to just be remembered as a good person that helped others. I feel like I'm paying it back now after all those years of being the leader. I'm now paying it back and being the Sherpa, helping them others to get to their mountaintop.
I love that. I love that answer for so many reasons, because you gave me words that I would label you with. I think you are very much a visionary and very much innovative. And you are also, I like to use the word shepherding others to grow into what they're here to be. Nothing is better than that, and leaving a legacy like that. I'm going because I love your name, because the last name, especially style, because I'm all about style and image and appearance, not to the extent that a lot of people take it to, but what is it about the fashion industry and the entertainment industry that you celebrate the most for men and for women? And then I'm going to ask you one more question that will end our conversation today. What is that about? How would you answer that?
I don't pretend to be a fashion plate of any type, sort of any kind. So I bow to you on that level. But what I appreciate, I think was your question about the fashion industry, is that it, just like my practice, I'll tie it into my practice. If it's done right, it's accentuating people's strengths. It's accentuating that there are certain parts, their color, their shape, they're all these things that accentuates that positive. And that's exactly what I do in my business. I leverage those strengths. I find them, leverage them, validate them, and make sure that they are in use all the time to get into that state of flow. And I imagine people in the fashion industry that are good about fashion, and they can accentuate themselves and they feel very good about themselves. They feel very positive about themselves, and they are in their own state of flow when it comes to fashion and their clothing, let's say.
I don't think you could have ended with a better answer, especially in the business that you're in, and tying in and aligning what I do with what you do, and because how you ended that, there's no way to piggyback on that, because you said it all, and brilliantly so. Mark, it was my pleasure. It was absolutely an honor to share this with you. I'm hoping that the audio in the beginning there, but I don't have any in control. Well, I do to an extent, but that's a whole nother ball game. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My engineer is going to slip you away, and I'll be back with you in just a second. I have to tell all of you, thank you, that the information that was shared here today is so powerful. I've known Mark for a short time, but I can tell you this, the integrity is there. And when I tell you that he's a visionary and he thinks outside of the box, way outside, that will help you in your growth and development, you won't find better. There's no question about that. In the meantime, whatever you're doing, this is Monday. So make sure you have and make it the best week ever. Don't I say that every week? Be and stay well. Look after you first so that you can look after all of the other people that you are here to look after. That word legacy, it's not just a word that flies out of the air. We're all doing it in different ways. Mark is leaving his legacy with being very innovative and much of a visionary and working with businesses to help you explode into all that you're here to be. That includes myself as well. So be and stay well and take care of you. And until we meet the next time, and we will, how about Wednesday? All the best and much, much love from my heart to yours. Cheers.